My name is Matthew Healy. I'm 18 years old. The day my mother died, my father promised he'd always protect me. 6 months later, he remarried, packed my clothes into 2 bags, and left me at my grandparents' house. I thought they had saved me. I had no idea I had just stepped into the darkest years of my life. My name is Matthew Healy, and I'm from Columbus, Ohio. When I was 10 years old, my mother passed away after a long illness. She was my entire world. After her funeral, my father cried in front of everyone and promised he would never leave me. But promises are easy to make. 6 months later, he met another woman. Within a year, they got married. His new wife made it clear that I wasn't welcome. One evening, my father loaded my clothes into the trunk of his car. "I think it's better if you stay with Grandma and Grandpa for a while," he said. I kept asking, "When are you coming back?" He never answered. At first, my grandparents hugged me and told everyone they were saving their grandson, but the moment the front door closed, everything changed. I wasn't their grandson anymore. I was free labor. Every morning, I woke up before sunrise. I cleaned every room. I washed dishes. I mowed the lawn. I carried heavy grocery bags. I washed their car. I cooked dinner. I did laundry. If even one thing wasn't perfect, Grandma would yell, "If you're going to live here, you have to earn your place." Grandpa was even colder. "You should be grateful. Your own father didn't want you." Those words hurt more than anything. I still went to school every day. I was exhausted. My hands were covered in cuts from working around the house. My classmates thought I was quiet. The truth was, I had no energy left to smile. Every night, I looked at my mother's old photo and whispered, "I miss you." I didn't know it then, but everything after my 18th birthday, I realized something that changed my life. If I stayed in that house any longer, I would never have a future. Every morning started the same way. At 5 a.m., Grandma would bang on my bedroom door. "Matthew, get up! The kitchen isn't going to clean itself." By the time I left for school, I had already cleaned the house, taken out the trash, washed dishes, and fed their dog. When I came home, there was another list waiting. Mow the lawn, wash the windows, fix the fence, vacuum every room. I wasn't treated like family. I was treated like someone who owed them everything. One afternoon, I asked Grandpa if I could get a part-time job after school. "I want to save money for college," I said. He didn't even look up from his newspaper. "You don't need college. You belong here." Grandma laughed. "Who's going to do all the work if you leave?" That sentence stayed in my head all night. They never wanted me to succeed. They wanted me to stay dependent on them forever. The next day, my guidance counselor, Mrs. Wilson, noticed I looked exhausted. She asked quietly, "Matthew, is everything okay at home?" For the first time in years, someone actually cared enough to ask. I didn't tell her everything, but I admitted I was struggling. She helped me apply for scholarships and gave me information about part-time jobs near school. I secretly applied to every job I could find. After 2 weeks, a local grocery store hired me for evening shifts. I didn't tell my grandparents. Instead, I told them I was staying late at school to study. For the first time in years, I earned money that belonged to me. It wasn't much, but every paycheck gave me hope. I opened a savings account they didn't know about. Every dollar brought me one step closer to freedom. Then one evening, Grandma found my work uniform hidden in my backpack. She stared at it, then at me. Her face turned bright red. "You lied to us?" The entire house fell silent. I knew nothing would ever be the same again. Grandma held my work uniform in her hands, like it was proof of betrayal. "You've been working behind our backs?" she shouted. Grandpa stood up from his chair. "So that's why you've been coming home late." I took a deep breath. "I just want to save money for college." Grandpa slammed his hand on the table. "College? You're staying here." Grandma pointed toward the door. "As long as you live in this house, you follow our rules." For the first time in years, I didn't lower my head. I looked them both in the eyes. "I've spent years cleaning this house, cooking your meals, mowing your lawn, and doing everything you asked. I've earned the right to make my own future." They were speechless. The next morning, my backpack was gone. So were my savings. Grandma admitted she had searched my room. "We took the money," she said. "You don't need it." I felt sick. Months of hard work, gone. That night, I couldn't sleep. Then my phone rang. It was Mrs. Wilson. She had good news. One of the scholarships I applied for had accepted me. It covered my tuition and included housing on campus. I could finally leave. A week later, I packed the few things that still belonged to me. When Grandma saw the suitcase, she laughed. "You'll be back in a month." Grandpa shook his head. "The real world isn't as easy as you think." I quietly picked up my bag. "I guess we'll find out." Without looking back, I walked out of that house. For the first time since my mother died, I felt free. I didn't have money. I didn't have family. Leaving that house was the hardest thing I had ever done. College wasn't easy. I attended classes during the day and worked nights at a warehouse to cover my living expenses. There were days when I survived on instant noodles and barely slept. Whenever I felt like giving up, I remembered my mother's words. "Never let anyone decide how much you're worth." Those words kept me going. 4 years later, I graduated with honors in business administration. Soon after, I landed a job at a growing technology company. I worked hard, earned promotions, and eventually started my own consulting business. By the time I turned 28, I owned my own home. I was financially secure. Most importantly, I had built the life everyone said I would never have. Then, one afternoon, I received an unexpected phone call. It was my father. I hadn't heard his voice in almost 10 years. "Matthew," he said quietly, "can we meet?" Curiosity got the better of me. We met at a small coffee shop. He looked much older than I remembered. He apologized for abandoning me after my mother's death. He admitted that his second marriage had fallen apart, and that he had spent years regretting the choices he made. Before we finished talking, he said something that surprised me. "Your grandparents need help." I stayed silent. "They're old now," he continued. "Their health is failing, and they keep saying they want to see you." A week later, I drove to the same house where I had spent so many painful years. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Grandma opened the door. For a moment, neither of us spoke. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "We were wrong," she whispered. Grandpa slowly stood from his chair. "I thought being hard on you would make you stronger," he said. "Instead, we pushed you away." They both apologized. The room fell silent. I looked around the house. The same kitchen, the same hallway, the same memories. I took a deep breath. "I forgive you," I said. "But forgiveness doesn't erase the past. I spent years believing I wasn't good enough because of the way I was treated. I've worked too hard to rebuild my life. I wish them peace and good health." Then I walked toward the door. This time, I wasn't leaving because someone had forced me out. I was leaving because I had finally found peace. As I drove away, I looked at my mother's photograph hanging from my car's sun visor. For the first time in many years, I smiled, because I finally understood something. The people who abandon you don't decide your future. You do.